The letter that arrived too late. The rain had already begun before sunrise. It tapped gently against the windows of the old house as Emma stood silently in the living room, surrounded by half-packed boxes. Dusk floated through the pale morning light, and every corner of the house carried a memory she wasn't ready to face. Today was supposed to be the last day she would ever step inside the home where she had grown up. Her father had been gone for 6 months. Cancer had taken him slowly. Emma most wasn't losing him, it was realizing that he had spent the last 5 years barely speaking. The final argument had been about dreams. Emma wanted to leave the small town and chase a career in the city. Her father believed she was running away from the people who loved her. Neither of them had apologized. Now there would never be another chance. As she sealed another cardboard box, someone knocked softly on the front door. She hesitated. Hardly anyone visited anymore. When she opened the door, an elderly male carrier stood outside holding a single cream-colored envelope. "I have been looking for you," he said kindly. It was hidden amongst some old files at the post office. "I believe it belongs to you." Emma looked at the envelope. Her hands froze. Written across the front in neat blue ink were 4 words she recognized instantly. "For my daughter Emma." It was her father's handwriting. The hair seemed to disappear from the room. She could barely breathe. "Thank you," she whispered. The mail carrier nodded gently before walking back into the rain. Emma at the door and stared at the envelope. She closed the door. Her fingers trembled. They trembled, and really, her fingers, the paper had edged slightly around the edges. There was no return address, only her name. She carried it to the dining table where countless families' dinner had once filled the room with laughter. For several long minutes, she simply looked at it. She wasn't ready. Yet, finally, with shaking hands, she broke the envelope. Inside was a folded letter, the first line borrowed from her tears. "My dearest Emma, if you are reading this, then I was right. Time was finally caught up with me. Please be hungry that I wrote instead of saying these words aloud. Some conversations are easier for this heart when the mouth can no longer interrupt them." Emma stopped reading. A tear landed on the page. She remembered every stubborn silence, every phone call she had ignored, every birthday she had skipped. The guilt she had buried suddenly rushed back alone at once. She continued, "I know you believe I never understood your dream, but the truth is I admired your courage every single day. I only feared the world would break the beautiful heart you carried. If I ever made you feel small, please forgive me. It was never because I doubted you. It was because I loved you more than I knew how to express." Emma covered her mouth. The room echoed with quiet sobs. Outside, the rain grew heavier and heavier. She kept reading. "There are 3 things I need you to do after I am gone. Not for me, for yourself. The first, go back to the oak tree behind our old barn. Dig beneath the largest root. You will find something I buried years ago. When you do, You finally understand why I always believed your future was brighter than mine. Emma lowered the letter. Her heart raced. She had climbed that oak tree hundreds of times as a child. Why had he never mentioned this? She looked thoroughly. The rain towards the backyard. The ancient oak still stood proudly against the grey sky. For the first time in months, she felt something she thought she had lost forever. Hope. Hope arose her. Without another thought, she grabbed a shovel, leaning beside the back door. The rain soaked her clothes with seconds. Step by step, she walked towards the old oak tree, completely unaware that what lay beneath its roots would change not only her life, but the lives of everyone in her father had ever loved. The rain soaked Emma's clothes as she crossed the backyard. The old oak tree stood exactly she remembered, its branches stretching towards the sky, grey, its roots twisting through the earth like ancient hands protecting a forgotten secret. She rested the shovel against the large root. "Please let this be real," she whispered. "Please let this be real." The first few shovelfuls revealed something that went soil and tangled roots. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Her arms arched and doubt began to rip and creep to her mind. Her arms echoed, arched, doubt began, and maybe the letter was only symbolic. Maybe grief had crowded her father's memory. Just as she was about to stop, the shovel struck something solid. Clank! Emma froze. She knelt down and crushed away the mud with trembling hands. A small metal box emerged from the earth. Its surface was rusted, but the lock and long since broken. She cried. It was beneath and the shelter of the porch before opening it. Inside were treasures from another lifetime. A faded photograph of her parents laughing beside the same oak tree, a tiny pair of baby shoes, several newspapers clipping, a leather journal, a sealed envelope. On the envelope were the words, "Open this after you have read my journal." Emma opened the journal first. The handwriting was unmistakably her father's. The handwriting was really for her father. March 18th. Today Emma took her first step. She fell 7 times but stood up 8. I think that would be the story of her life. Emma smiled through tears. She kept reading. The journal wasn't about business. It wasn't about money. It wasn't even about illness. It was about her. Every birthday, every school performance, every scrapped knee, every achievement she thought her father had forgotten, one page caught her attention. I never told Emma this, but when I was 13, I lost my job. There were nights when I skipped dinner so she could have enough to eat. She never noticed. Thank God. Emma closed the journal for a moment. She had spent years believing her father didn't care. Now she realized he had simply loved quietly. As evening approached, she finally reached the last written page. If you're reading this, then you found the box. Good! That means you've already taken the first step towards forgiving me. Now it's time to discover the truth I have carried for 26 years. Emma's heartbreak quickened. She reached her the second envelope. She broke the seal. Inside was another letter. It contained only one sentence. Go to the old train station tomorrow at exactly 10 in the morning. Someone has been waiting to meet you for years. Emma stared at the words. who could possibly have been waiting all this time? She folded the letter carefully. Tomorrow would answer questions she never knew she had. Before sunrise, she reread every page of the journal. Each memory painted a different picture of the man she thought she had known. At exactly 5:50 a.m., she arrived at the abandoned train station. The building had aged with time, paint peeled from the walls. The clock above the entrance had stopped years ago. Only platform 3 showed signs of life. An elderly man sat quietly on a wooden bench, holding a brown leather briefcase. As Emma approached, he slowly stood. "You must be Emma." His voice was calm. She frowned. "How do you know my name?" He smiled sadly. "Because your father never stopped talking about you." Emma felt her throat tighten. "My name is Daniel. I was your father's closest friend. He asked me to give you something, but only after he was gone." Daniel opened the briefcase carefully. Inside were driven dozens of letters. Each was marked with a birthday. Age 27, age 28, age 29, age 30. There were letters for every year until Emma turned 50. "What are these?" she whispered. Daniel looked towards the empty railway tracks. "Your father knew he wouldn't be here to watch your life unfold, so he decided to write the future instead." Emma gently picked up the first envelope. Her fingers trembled. Daniel spoke again. He spent nearly 3 years writing them. Sometimes he would stay up until 2 in the morning, rewriting a single page because he wanted every word to be perfect. Emma could no longer hold back her tears. Daniel reached into the briefcase one last time. "There is one more thing." He handed her an old brass key. "What does it open?" Daniel smiled. "I don't know. Your father never told me. He only said when Emma is ready, she will know exactly where to it belongs." The station fell silent. In the distance, the wind carried the lonely sound of a train horn. Emma looked at the key in her hand, the letter, the journal, the box beneath the oak tree. Each answer seemed to uncover an even greater mystery without realizing it. And somewhere ahead, one final truth still awaits to be discovered. Emma waited until sunset before opening the envelope marked age 27. She sat on the front porch where she and her father had once watched countless sunsets together. Of course, the paper crackled softly as she unfolded it. "My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, then you've survived another year without me. I wish I could tell you that losing someone gets easier. It doesn't, but I promise this: one day the memories that make you cry will become the memories that make you smile. If you're still blaming yourself for one last argument, stop. I forgave you before I took my final breath. Now it's your turn to forgive yourself. Life is too short to carry guilt that love has already crushed. Remember that little lake where we used to feed the ducks. Go there tomorrow. Take some bread. Sit on the old bench. Someone needs to kindness that only you can give. Love, Dad." Emma folded the letter against her heart. For the first time, she breathed and breathed for more time. An elderly woman sat alone and on the weathered bench quietly wept tears from her face. Emma sat beside her without saying a word. After several minutes, the woman spoke. My husband and I came here every Thursday for 40 nights and 40 years. It's my first time coming here alone. Emma gently looked at her hand. They looked for nearly 2 hours. When finally stood to leave, the woman smiled through her tears. You've reminded me that strangers can become blessings. Emma looked towards the sky. That was Dad, she whispered. Days later, Emma found another folded page tucked inside the journal. She was certain it hadn't been there before. Across the top, her father had written, reading this only when my heart is ready. Taking a deep breath, she unfolded it. My beautiful daughter, there is something I never wanted you to know while I was alive. When you were accepted to university, we didn't have enough money. You thought I sold my old truck because I wanted a new one. The truth is, I sold the truck to pay your tuition. I also sold the watch your grandfather left me, and nearly a year I worked night shifts after finishing my regular job. I wasn't tired because I was getting older. I was tired because I wanted you to have opportunities I never had. Please don't feel guilty. Every sacrifice I made was a gift I gave with joy. Watching you dream was worth every sleepless night. Emma buried her face in her hands. She remembered completely that her father never bought anything nice for himself. Now she understood why. He had quietly given everything to her, and he had so she could have a better future. That evening, she walked into the garage. An empty space remained where the old truck had once been. She stood there for several minutes. I am sorry, Dad, whispered. I never saw what you were carrying. A gentle breeze drifted through the open garage door. For the first time, her apology felt hard. The key without a lock. The brass key never left Emma's pocket. She tried every lock in this house. Nothing. She checked the barn. Nothing. Even the old storage shed offered no answer. Frustrated, she returned to the oak tree. As she leaned against its trunk, she noticed something she had never seen before. Carved in the bark were tiny initials JM, EM. Her parents, beneath the grave carvings, was a small metal plate, almost hidden by moss. There was a keyhole. Emma's heart raced. She inserted the brass key. With a soft click, the plate swung opening. Inside was a narrow wooden compartment. There was no money, no jewelry, only a warm leather notebook wrapped in the blue cloth. Its little read, "Our family's greatest treasure." Inside were stories spanning generations, acts of courage, kindness, forgiveness, and faith. On the final page, her father had written, "If you've reached this point, then you've discovered the truth I wanted you to inherit. Real wealth is not measured by what you leave in a bank. It is measured by the lives you change and the life of people you change. Promise me that wherever life takes you, you will leave people with more hope than they had before they met you. That is the only inheritance worth protecting." Emma closed the notebook as tears rolled down her cheeks. For years, she had believed her father had left her behind. Now she realized he had been preparing her all along, not for success but for significance. As the sun disappeared behind the hills, Emma looked towards the horizon. Her father's journey had ended, but hers was only beginning.